This time on RadRat Video, we talk about skateboard celebrities and YouTubers and all that, and ask, shouldn't you just skate for yourself? Welcome back to RadRat Video, a channel where I talk about all different kinds of things in the skateboarding world. You can learn about your favorite old pros from back in the day, you can learn about weird skateboarding games you've never heard of, and you can have your questions answered on this series, AskRadRat. First question from today is from Ethan, who says, "Hey RadRat, love your channel and just started skating. Your videos have helped a ton. Anyway, my question is this. Do you think that the punk rock culture surrounding a lot of skaters has held back skateboarding? I vividly remember going with my mom to parks as a little kid and seeing groups of teenage skateboarders smoking cigarettes and swearing and feeling just freaked out by them. I'm a young adult now, but I definitely still see the connection. A lot of pros had serious drug problems back in the day, and aside from the drugs, there's a segment of skateboarding that really pushes this idea of being super hardcore and disregarding all the rules. Do you think that this culture of no rules, hardcore punk skateboarding has been good or bad for the progress of skating?" So the theme of this video, as you'll see, is inclusiveness, based on some of the other questions that are in a very similar category that I grouped together for this time. And I know where you're coming from. So when I was in high school, I was a very straight edge kid. I didn't drink till I was 22, actually. Aside from like a sip of wine to see what it's like, I didn't actually have a drink until I was 22. Okay, that's the kind of teenager and young adult that I was. And so like, yeah, in skateboarding, it's all about, there was like the piss drunks, you know, like the, it wasn't a team. I forget. I don't know how you would call that, but just like these guys who are known for just like being drunk all the time, and in their videos are always like chugging 40s after they land a trick, you know, and it was just what the culture was. And another thing, aside from that, when I was in high school, all the skaters had the same haircut where they let their hair grow a little bit too long and it would like fluff out at their ears. And I didn't do that. My parents wouldn't let me have a fad haircut, which is kind of weird, but I'm overall kind of grateful for that, because like there's so many kinds of haircuts that have gotten so uncool after 5 years that I've never had. But yeah, so like I never felt like a typical skater. So I never hung out with those guys. We never went out and skated at all. And I would always have people tell me that I don't look like a skater all the time. Not so much now as an adult, although people now think I'm just like too old to still be riding around on a skateboard. But, you know, like fellow skaters don't really care at this point. But back in the day, that was definitely a thing. And I remember I would go into school, and this was before it was easy to film, you know, like I had to record stuff on a giant, like over the shoulder camcorder with a full size tape in it, you know, so I can't like bring footage in on my phone and show it to friends or whatever. So I'd be like, oh yeah, I learned how to 360 flip. And they'd be like, no, you didn't. No way. Like, you don't even skate. What are you talking about? You know, it was always like that because I didn't look or act like the rest of skateboarders did. And I feel like this is changing a lot now. I don't really see this being the thing quite as much. You can be into any kind of music and be into skateboarding, but I think punk still, because you mentioned it specifically, still has a big hold on skateboarding. I get questions about punk and how I should talk about how it's the best music to use in skate parts, and how punk has like helped skateboarding, and how skateboarding and punk music are intertwined and stuff like this. I get questions like that all the time, and I don't know much about it. I'm not qualified to answer that question, so I don't bother, but it's on people's minds because it comes up a lot. So like if you go in there and you're like, hey, I'm in the country, I only listen to Garth Brooks and whatever, you know, like you should be just as welcome in skateboarding as anyone else. Who cares? Yeah, you take off your cowboy boots to put on your skate shoes before you start to do some tricks. But as long as you skate, like, why would that be a problem? What does that have to do with skateboarding? It doesn't have anything to do with it. You know, if that culture is based on the people who are really popular at a time, right? You know, like the way that the cool slang phrases that you use is because it came out in a song that got popular, you know, like skateboarding culture is just based on what some cool guys in the 90s were like, and it just kind of built off of that, you know. It has nothing to do with the actual act of riding a skateboard. It doesn't make you better or worse at flipping your board to listen to a certain kind of music or to dress a certain way. I never really understood the connection between clothing and music anyway. Like, if you didn't know what a band looked like, if you played like the hair bands of the 80s to a kid who had never seen them before and it was only music and they loved it, like a fun experiment to play with your kid. Where you only give them music from the 80s to listen to. And they get really into hair metal. They just love it. They listen to every album. Are they going to grow out their hair? No, they don't know that that's what they look like, It was always a weird thing to me that you have to dress like the type of music that you like, because I never did that. But, yeah, so I know what you're talking about. It feels like skateboarding is more inclusive now. I do still think like the cowboy showing up with a cowboy hat on at the skate park is going to get some looks, but I don't think it's nearly as insular as it used to be. All right, next question is from Gary, who says, what do you think of all the LGBTQ companies and collectives popping up like Unityskateboarding, Skatetism, Doyenne Skateboards, and things like that? Is skating finally starting to open up to these types of groups? I am not familiar with any of those brands, to be honest with you. I've heard of a couple of them, but I don't know their platform or anything like that. So I'm going to take your word on that. But if that's the case, I'm definitely into it. We were talking about being inclusive today. I'm sorry, but I'm still getting over being sick. I record all these videos, all my AskRadRats in one batch, so I haven't been sick for 2 months. I've only been sick for 2 weeks. But anyway, I think that being inclusive and having more people in skateboarding is just going to be a good thing. It's only going to grow the amount of talent in skateboarding, which is what we want. So the thing about skateboarding, like I was saying with the music, it's a piece of wood. You either ride it around. You can ride it in some weird places. You can try to ride it up a wall even. You can bounce it off the ground, kick it around, and make it do little flippies in the air. You can try to ride it on a handrail. You can force it up onto a curb and slide it along there. You can put it in a patch of pavement and just land it in different weird positions and balance on it, on rails and Casper and stuff like that. You can do whatever you want. What does the person look like who's doing that? It doesn't matter. Are they male or female or non-binary? Are they whatever? What is their views on this? What political stance do they take? What gender identity do they have? Any of that stuff is beside the point. It doesn't matter. I would want to have as many talented people in skateboarding as possible. If this guy over there is going to be the first guy to do something I'd like to see, crook, nollie tray, back into crook, this guy could do it. He doesn't know that yet, but he's going to be the guy who's going to do it over there. He's not going to come over and I'm going to say, oh, I don't want you doing it. You are whatever. You don't fit this category, this demographic. You're too whatever. That doesn't make any sense. The more people that are in skateboarding and have passion for it and have talent and are pouring it into doing cool stuff is only going to do you good. You being able to see what they put out, being able to see that guy do his crook, nollie tray, back to crook is going to inspire you, or it would for me at least, and you're going to be stoked about it. And it's going to inspire you to do more. Maybe I can't do that, but maybe I can crook, nollie flip out, and it's going to build and push people forward and do more and more. You have different brands and they have different types of graphics. They're going to have different sorts of style with the way that they edit. People are going to do all kinds of new, interesting things. Let's get as many people as we can who want to ride on a board and make it do stuff and bring them into skateboarding. That's my thoughts on it. I don't care what group we're talking about. If they want to shred, then let's shred, All right. Next question is from Punishment. This one goes a little bit off topic. What do you think of crossfoot or pretzel tricks? I personally find them really fun and stylish, but a lot of people seem to really hate them. Lol. So the thing about crossfoot tricks, so that's like if you do a kickflip and you land with your feet switched around, your legs crossed, or doing a trick out of that, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's really hard. I've done a few, like doing an impossible to crossfoot and stuff like that. It's a good challenge. It's very difficult. It's not that popular. Here's the thing though. I see that and I can appreciate it. But I know that not everyone will be able to, and I know that because of scootering. So like, I don't hate scootering. I think it's respectable. I get it. I watch someone do a cool trick and I can appreciate that it's hard, but I never think it's cool. I never see that and go like, oh man, like, I'm never clapping when I see someone do like a bar spin or whatever. I can mentally know that it was difficult and I can mentally appreciate the amount of time and effort you put into that. I'm not going to disrespect it, but I don't feel anything when I watch that. So like, I see a lot of scootering on Instagram on the search tab. It just comes up a lot. And the big thing in scootering now, if you're not following, is like late tricks. So you do like a tail whip this way, then you catch it and you flip it back this way, and flip it back this way, then do a bar spin and land. So you do like 4 tricks real quick in the air. And like, yeah, thinking about that, that's crazy. It goes so fast, you got to catch it. And sometimes they kick it with their foot. Sometimes they can just like pull it up and reverse it just with their shoulders, like shifting it back and forth. Like, this is really hard stuff. But at the same time, what you're watching is a kid normally flying through the air doing this with his shoulders, and then he lands. And it just doesn't look cool to me, no matter what. I don't care if you did 4 tricks in that air or you did 5. I don't care if you did a backflip with it. I don't care if you did it with a 540. It doesn't look cool to me. And I can 100%, so where I'm going with this is, I can 100% understand how the average person can see you do a trick to crossfoot and think it looks dumb, right? Like, hey, I did a flip trick, but instead of just doing it really fast and landing it really clean, instead I landed it like this, and it was really weird and awkward, and then I had to hop and fix it. Personally, I get it. I think it's cool. I like to do it. I mean, I haven't done anything to CrossFit in a long time, but like, I would. It's not that I just don't really think of it. But yeah, I get why people might feel that way. Okay, the last question today is a big one from DG. He says, "What up, RadRat? I know you come from a time just like me in skating before YouTube, and when people didn't care about subscribers and views and all that nonsense. My question to you, what do you think of these so-called YouTube and Instagram celebs?" That makes me cringe. These people who skate just for views and likes and to get subscribers, and they have their own board companies no one knows about and make themselves pro. Yet you never see them on a legit board company or in any magazines or in any big video parts. For me, I think it's lame. That's not what skating is. Doing tricks and trying to be funny to get YouTube to pay you or just for attention. Skateboarding was always about having fun with friends and pushing yourself to learn new tricks and be as good as you can be. Maybe I'm going on a rant here, but I think it's toxic for the skate community. To have these people you never knew about before shoving content in your face constantly to get money off social media and to trend and be a celeb for whatever that means. Always thank you, and for over 20 years I'll say it, skate for you. I disagree on pretty much every point that you made here. As you say, you skate for yourself. Recently I started a series called Tricks and Tribulations where I go skate. And the point of making it a video series was to inspire myself to actually go do it. So like, if I can tell myself this is work, I'm producing a thing that I need to do, then it's easier for me to make time to do it. I work a lot. And if I can tell myself that this is work, if I can put an extra 2 hours in after I'm done and edit and make it into a video, then it's easier for me to convince myself to actually do it. And for me, that was one of the biggest purposes for making that into a series. I could go skate in my backyard with no camera and have the exact same experience, but that is actually inspiring me to do it. And people have always liked to film stuff anyway, whether you're making a legitimate video part, like you mentioned, or you and your buddies are just, recording and making a video with 2 VCRs. People have always liked to film stuff. So for me, filming stuff while you skate and then putting it on YouTube, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think you're very much held in the past in the way that you talk about stuff. So you're saying like, none of these guys is on a legitimate board company. But what does that mean and why? So I recently did a video on Chad Muska, and when he joined Toy Machine, he went like behind the scenes and he saw the people who work there, and they're just people, it's just like Sue and Bob, this, she does all the sales calls and he loads the truck, like they're just regular people, but that's a legitimate brand. If Johnny Geiger prints a board in a local screen printing shop in his local town and he sells it to you, that's not legit. But what difference does that make? So I have a business where I do graphics. I build sites. I do like video, motion graphics, all that kind of stuff. If I were to run my company like a real company, and I'm a corporation from a legal tax perspective, but I do it all from my basement. I'm one guy in my pajamas in my basement. Is that a real company? Should I be out making sales calls? I have clients from all over the country. Should I be like going to a local business with a fruit basket, like a gift basket and my business card in it, and then trying to like take clients out to lunches and do all that old school stuff? No, because I'd have to hire a salesman. I'd have to buy a nicer car and I would be less successful. So why should I limit myself to like a certain time period? Why do I have to do things the way that people did it before? Why does a skate brand have to be done in a certain way to be legit? And I was thinking about this a lot. I was thinking about your question a lot. And there's a local brand where I live. I haven't bought any of their boards before, and I don't know about their structure, but I'm going to use them as an example. Anyway, local brand. They sponsor local good skaters who are out killing the skate parks and stuff like that. This is a very normal, traditional structure, and I think you would agree that this is a legitimate skate company. It's small, but it's a local brand, and they are sponsoring local good skaters to promote them. Okay. I think we both agree that this is a real company. What if the owner of this company had a YouTube channel? And what if all these local kids who he sponsors aren't local to him? They live in different cities around the world. What makes that so different? If this guy over here on this company's board does a great trick at his local spot, he posts on Instagram or YouTube. What is so bad about that? No one's coming up through contests. No one's doing demos. No one's really using that old model anymore because it doesn't work as well. Why go skate in every city in the country to sell boards when you can make a video once and give it to everybody in the world? Why have all of this structure when you can do it lean, when you can have a warehouse and you and your buddy take turns printing out the packing slips and you mail it out yourself? What difference does that make? Why is that less legitimate to you? And I think that's a very big question, and I think that we benefit from people being able to do this. So I talked about Johnny Geiger, right? I really like him. I watch a lot of his stuff. He does some stuff that's really crazy. Now, if he were in a traditional, if this was like 20 years in the past, and he skated like he did, if technology was 20 years in the past, but skateboarding was at its current spot, he might not be on a big team. Or maybe he'd be like an AM on a team somewhere. He probably wouldn't be a big name pro. All right, let's be honest. He probably wouldn't. He's not doing big handrails and stuff like that that's popular. He does weird stuff that I really enjoy to watch, but stuff that isn't traditionally considered marketable. Now, let's say there was no way for him to be on YouTube. There's no way for him to sell boards and stickers and all that type of stuff. Where would he be? He would have a couple tricks in like a guest spot in a professional video somewhere, or he'd have a part every now and then on a clothing sponsor, something along those lines, right? That means that I, as a viewer, see him less. I didn't see him do a varial heel flip primo slide 3/4 flip out because he's not on YouTube. I'm not allowed. That doesn't exist. He has to be in a professional video somewhere, and they probably aren't going to run that. So I don't see it. I'm actually being hurt by that not being an option. And let's talk about him more. I don't know the guy. He's we're using him in theory. If he makes his living off of having a YouTube channel, what if that wasn't an option? What if he had to live off of skateboarding? What if there's no big businesses, like big skate brands in the area around him that can sponsor him? No one's paying him. He's not out winning contests. What happens? He goes and gets a job in an office somewhere, and then he doesn't skate as much. And then I, as a viewer, get less skateboard content to watch. There's no benefit to anybody for YouTube and social media to disappear. Not only is it an inspiration for people to actually go film, but it's inspiring to people who watch it too. Yes, there is some annoying stuff. I don't like when people post. The Barracks does this, although I think it's on accident because they're old, but they always say like, can someone give me a name for this trick? And they're trying to like get you to comment on it so that they're people acting on it. I can't think of the word right now. That that engagement goes up and then they get pushed higher up on the whatever. That type of stuff can be annoying. They're just playing the game. A couple other things you said. You were talking about being in a legitimate video or a magazine. Magazines, how much clout does that really have now? The only thing about being in a magazine is that you passed through the eyes of an editor. Somebody decided that your picture or your sequence or whatever, or your interview was worth sharing. That's it. And a lot of that can come from knowing the right people. How many times have I seen that? I make a lot of videos where I talk about old school pros and how they went pro and all that. And a lot of the times, like with Chad Muska, he met Josh Callis and Jamie Thomas because they met his roommate and he just so happened to meet up with them. What if that never happened? He would be just as good as he was, with the way things actually turned out, but he had to know the right person and be in the right spot. He had to live in California at the time and all that kind of stuff. If he lived in the mountains in Switzerland somewhere, he was just as good as he wouldn't have had that opportunity. Now we have the internet. We don't need to know the right person to get put in a magazine somewhere. And being in a major skate video has less meaning now. Again, same reason you're going through a team manager or whatever, not an editor. But the point is they'll pick out certain skaters who have a certain style that they like, but that's it. You might not, as a viewer, like what's popular right now. You might want to watch this other weird stuff that people don't do as much. And so again, you have less choices. But what's the difference between a video part put out now, like a sponsorless, like guy puts out a 4-minute skate video on YouTube? What's the difference between that and a pro skate video? The difference is marketing and ad dollars. That's it. You can skate just as good and not have it be burned on a DVD or written onto a VHS tape or whatever, and be just as good of a skater, inspire just as many people, but it just doesn't have that label. And I just don't think any of your arguments hold a lot of weight. Like you say skate for yourself, but what if skating for yourself means not being on a brand? Isn't that more for yourself than anything? If I'm skating simply for myself and I film it because I'm skating anyway, and then I put it online and people like it, then I can skate for myself more. I'm not making money off of YouTube, really, just a little bit. I'm not like making my living off of it. So it's a little different for me, but if I could skate more because I put it online, then isn't that doing it for skateboarding? Isn't that the purest skateboard love? I'm doing what I can do to be skating as much as I can. So again, maybe there's some people, like you mentioned, who just do it for likes or whatever. I remember there was on the 9 Club, I think someone was saying yeah, I met a skater, and I won't say who it was, but he said, I only do this because I'm good at it, but I don't actually like it. That sucks. Sure. And yes, there are people who try to take advantage and just try to use hashtags to get likes and are popular but they don't actually care about what they're doing, yeah, that's going to happen. But there are pro skaters who are doing the same thing. So I don't think that has a lot of weight. Honestly, I think any way that you can skate as much as possible, any way that you can inspire people, any way that you can inspire yourself to skate more is better for skateboarding, better for you, and better for the people who watch it. So that's my thoughts on that. If you have any more questions, especially big ones like that, go to radratvideo.com and submit it on the homepage there. You can also ask them through Patreon, and I will definitely answer it one way or another. You can tap my logo in the center of the screen to subscribe, and you can watch some more videos in the sidebar there. Hit the like button, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.